It's the Ray Rican, and if you watch my channel, you know I always rag on the media, and you know if you watch and you pay attention, if you're someone that just doesn't watch and accept blindly, you're someone who sees the difference in coverage. And you saw it. Look at the difference between the way they treat uh Jen Psaki. Look at the way they treat her versus the way they treated Sarah B. Hucker Sanders. Oh, this? Anyway, Trump's press secretaries. You see the way they were treated versus the way Jen Psaki is treated. It's like you see the bias because you see it was you had CNN always Jim Acosta always trying to butt his way into the story, become the story. um and even when you have the Fox News guy, Peter Ducey, when you see him asking questions, you never see him get nasty like Jim Acosta did. You always see him, he'll ask contentious questions, but you don't see him acting up. You see him acting a fool like Jim Acosta would. um but that's when I always talk about the agenda of the media. And that's why I say I trust the media's that their agenda. That at least they're being honest from their point of view, like where they're coming from. It's not like CNN, NBC, ABC, all these news stations. They pretend that they're objective when they're not. I want to take in point. I want to show this article from the Daily Wire. Use Ben Shapiro's site if you don't know. And it's a right-leaning site. They're not they're not silent about their bias. They are conservatives. So of course their coverage is going to lean right. But you already know that going into it. So it doesn't mean that you dismiss it. It means you read it with more you just read it extra carefully. But that's what you should do with the regular media, because when they act like they're objective and that there's no bias in their news reporting, they're already lying to you. That's why strike one right there when it comes to the mainstream media, that they act like they're not biased. But like I said, you could see the confrontational manner that Trump's press secretaries were questioned versus what's going on now with the Biden administration and Jen Psaki. But here's the story where you go. When it comes to the COVID coverage, you could see the difference in coverage. It's like, um, you know, uh, um, Abbott and DeSantis, they're the bad people. Texas and Florida, oh, they can't do right. So, here's their story. COVID-19 hospitalizations rising in North, falling in South, and the media is silent. Because this is what conservatives were saying all along. Go say the states with falling COVID-19 hospitalizations are mostly in the South, and the states with rising hospitalizations are mostly in the North. All the while, the media is ignoring the change, while they spent all summer blasting DeSantis and Abbott for supposedly mishandling the pandemic. National Review's Jim Garrity noted the trend on Thursday while pointing out that 4 states had double-digit percentage increases in COVID-19 hospitalization rates. That would be Michigan, New Hampshire, each with a 25% increase in the past 2 weeks, Minnesota with 15, Colorado with 14. 5 more states had single-digit increases: Alaska, Montana, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, and Wyoming. All of the southern states that suffered over the summer, they showed a drastic decrease in hospitalizations. In every other state, the number of people in the hospitalization with COVID went down, and in some cases dramatically. Tennessee saw hospitalization decline 32% over the past 2 weeks. Georgia, Texas both saw 34% declines. Mississippi 35, Alabama 36, South Carolina 38, Florida was at 39, and Louisiana at 42. Hawaii enjoyed an astounding 48% drop in the number of people in COVID in hospital with COVID. Here's the whole thing. I'm not a doctor. All I'm saying is you could see that it's basically COVID's going to start being, it's just going to be seasonal. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be uh seasonal where, we're going to see different strains, it's going to mutate. And, it's going to be, we're going to get you know, I remember months ago they were talking about the Mu variant. So you're going to see these different variants and we're going to have to live with it, but the media, like I said, and their coverage of this is biased. So here you have a story. Okay, I'm going to show you this story here first. Dr. Gottlieb says Northeast has yet to see true Delta wave, expects another COVID case spike. But then he put, here's an opinion. He goes, however, Gottlieb said the Northeast is unlikely to see an outbreak as dense as southern states did this summer. So it's trying to downplay it at the same time, trying to make people aware, but trying to downplay it at the same time. Because if you just ignore it, it's going to happen. But they want to downplay it. Oh, it's not going to be as bad in the Northeast. We don't know that. That's an opinion. But when it came to, Florida and Texas, oh, I mean, they called him Death Santis. But meanwhile, his handling of COVID, he's been one of the best governors in handling this. I mean, here's CNN from August 3rd. Florida and Texas had 1/3 of all U.S. COVID-19 cases in the past week, officials say. So here it is. They don't like DeSantis. They don't like Abbott. They're Republican. So, of course, the media has to throw that in there. But, when it came to when COVID started and New York was the epicenter of the pandemic, crickets about Cuomo. Matter of fact, his nursing houses deaths is not what caused him to resign. It ended up being the sexual harassment scandal. And even then, he tried to play it off like he wasn't doing anything. But this is what, this is the way the news works. And if you don't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. So here it is, CNN with their biased reporting, just talking about what's going on here with what was going on in Texas and Florida. And like I said, seasonal. What happens in these states? It's so hot. Okay, I lived in Texas. I know. In Texas, in the summer, people don't go out. You don't go out much. If you go out, you don't try to stay out in the sun too long. That's why you have, even then, like they have year-round water parks, like in cities. Like each city has their own indoor, like little water park. So for the residents to go, not just in the summer, but in the winter, when that winter storm they had, that winter storm that they were talking about that happened in Texas, it happened maybe for a couple of days, and then a couple of days later it was 80 again. That's Texas. Those houses, that's why those houses aren't built for cold weather. They're meant to, for example, I live in Pennsylvania. It gets cold. It snows here. Our houses are meant to retain the heat. So here in the summer, in order to cool off the house, you either have to have an air conditioner or open all your windows and let the heat come out. Because the house is meant to retain the heat. In Texas, the houses are meant for the heat to escape because it gets 100 degrees. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I live there. So anyway, I'm going on a rant about that. But that's the bias in the news coverage, because they don't like these states because they're biased, they're Democrats, and they don't acknowledge it. Or they'll, you have people like Don Lemon that will pretend that their bias is not bias. It's like, oh, that's the way he sees things. Yes, that's your bias. but acknowledge your bias. Don't pretend to be objective because you're not. Am I objective? No, I'm not objective. I am biased, but I know my bias, and I tell you my bias. I'm not here pretending to be objective. I am, right leaning. That's why, hence my name, the right Rican. And at least I'm honest about my bias. And you know what you're going to get when you tune into my channel. You're not getting someone that's going to someone that wants socialism, someone that wants Marxism. You're not going to see that on this channel. That in the wrong channel if that's what you're looking for. But I try to be honest about my bias. I try to be, when I read stuff, I try to be as objective as I can be. With my bias. And so when you read these stories, you have to see they want you to have that negative view. Same thing, like that's why I was having an argument with someone about they were complaining about Jason Whitlock, and they called him a term that's unfriendly, a raccoon, but take out the rack. I don't know. Sometimes I do that stuff because I don't know why YouTube will censor. They may not allow me to say the term that I was trying to say. Same thing like with the N word. Even if I'm just repeating something I'm reading, you can't say that so they called him that, and I was trying to explain it. It's like you cannot, one side is using this as a power play, as a power weapon, because that's what the left is doing. If you disagree with them, it's because they're black. If you disagree with them, they're Latino. You can't do that with me because I'm Latino, and I got family who's whiter than me, and I got family who's darker than me. So you can't, you could try to call me racist, but you'll be wrong. You could call me transphobic. That's wrong. You call me homophobic. That'll be wrong too. Just because it's like Dave Chappelle said in his post. He said, the lie is that there's someone, if you disagree with the way someone lives, then you either fear or hate them. That's not true. I don't fear or hate transgender people. I just don't want that stuff pushed on the youth. Same thing with sexuality. Let kids be kids. Stop trying to sexualize kids, whether it's transgenderism, whether it's, drag queen story hour or drag kids. Keep that shit away from them. Let them be kids. Let them have their innocence a little bit longer than the world's trying to do by pushing this stuff on them. Trying to make transgender kids, that's like vegan cats. We know who's making the decision in their lives, and it's not the cat, it is not the kids. So anyways, I always go into my rants, but this was about COVID. And yes, COVID cases are starting to go up here in the Northeast. It was scary. My niece just caught COVID, and I had to test my kids for it, and it's scary. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not scary. My friend's kids just got one kid recovered, the other kid caught it. Now the dad might have it, and the mom, hopefully the mom doesn't get it because she's immunocompromised. So pray for her that she doesn't get it. So it's scary. I'm not going to sit here and act like COVID's not, you hear COVID and you get scared. But we don't need to be where we don't have to be. You don't have to live in fear. Just realize how much of a chance you have of getting it. Or just realize how much, if you're scared, get the shot. Okay? If you're scared, get the COVID shot. That's it. But if people are willing to take the risk and you got the shot, and yes, you might still get it. Yes, there's still a small chance you might die. Yes. But you know what? Stop letting your fear be used to control others. If others don't want to get the shot, let's say, for example, like I said, my niece just recovered, my friend's son just recovered. They don't need to get vaccinated now. They have natural immunity. And you know what? I would trust this whole idea with the vaccine if it wasn't for the fact that all of a sudden natural immunity doesn't, they ignore it. They ignore natural immunity and still push the vaccine. That's what makes me like, whoa, what are you guys doing? We, I understand it's a new virus. Well, you know, everything's still new, whether natural immunity to COVID or whether the immune response to the vaccine, it's still all new. So, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving advice. I'm just saying, I'm just against the mandate. I have the Johnson and Johnson. If they are, they're going to give booster shots, I probably won't get it. Most likely, I won't get it. I didn't want to get the shot in the first place. I have a strong immune system. I've never even had the chicken pox. Now, not comparing these things. I'm just saying I have a good immune system. I rarely get sick. Usually my sicknesses aren't viral. Usually they're bacterial. I'll get like bronchitis, and it'll be bacterial bronchitis, not viral. So it's know your body. I take my supplements. I take my multivitamin. I take my vitamin D. I take my multi-mineral. I take my vitamin B complex. I take my fish oil. I take all of that stuff. I've been doing that for 20 years. It's not something that I started this because COVID scared me. No, I've been pushing vitamin D to my family for years. My sister I used to tell her, you should take vitamin D. You should take vitamin D. What ended up happening? Her doctor told her she was vitamin D deficient. And I told her most people are. Unless you're out in the sun all the time, you're vitamin D deficient. Unless you drink tons of milk or you take a vitamin D supplement like I do, you're most likely going to be vitamin deficient in this country. But that's just the reality of the life that we live. So, like I said, I'm not a doctor because YouTube and all that stuff. But all I'm saying is, you have to either choose to live in fear or you choose to just live. Look, you could get in your car tomorrow and get into a car accident. You could get on a bus. The bus gets into an accident. You get on the train, could have a derailment. You don't know. That's life. Life is scary. Life is unknown. But we just have to stop letting your fear control you, and stop letting that fear here we go. Stop letting the fear that's controlling you be used to control others. Conquer your fear and the fear that they're pushing, because the fear that they're pushing is just about control. It's about a way to control you. That's it. That's what it's about. Because if they could push, if they could push, if they could push the mandates of everything, then they know that they could push anything on you. End of story. That's it. They could push this. They could push anything on you. And if you're okay with that, sorry, but I'm not. I'm gonna leave it there. Have a good weekend. It's Friday. I'm the Rican. You can follow me on YouTube or Rumble, and you can interact with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram. I have all the other ones too: Clout Hub, Getter, Locals. All of these sites I have, but those are the four that you get a quicker response from me, especially my Telegram channel. But it's Twitter, Facebook, Gab, and Telegram. Those are the four. If you want a quicker response from me, other than just comment on my videos, and I will respond to them too. So please like and subscribe also to my channel. I haven't said that in a while. Share them, please. Other than not just the post, but share the videos after you watch them. All right. With that being said, like I said, have a good weekend, everyone.